for you guys.
We are live.
Welcome, boys and girls, to the Undercard Supercast for May 20th. I am your host, founder, editor, and Josh Hall's personal activist, archivist for his racial statements, Luke Irwin. Joining me tonight, so a one-armed Jew walks into a bar and talks too much, Ben Cohn. He's been called the next Andy Dick, the internet's Dan Galvan. To his right, the copywriter for all those wonderful Sonic commercials you all love, Josh Hall. Straight out of L.A., crazy motherfuckers like Taylor Engel, and lastly, and I do mean lastly, Nolan Howell. Dateline, Nolan Howell's Mystery Lounge, where he and his family entertain what I can only imagine are well-meaning vagrants every fucking fight card. Award time. In honor of how the evening went for Bjorn Rebney, who wins the golden Harry Carey sword? And who's the sad son of a bitch who takes home the reviled, the odious, the repugnant golden poop? Benjamin?
Well, I would like you to explain the Harry Carey sword thing after, but...
You see, Ben.
Not the Cubs announcer, Ben. I'm talking about the old Japanese method of noble suicide, more referred to as harikari. Would that have been better for you, Ben?
Yeah, that would actually
It's not how it's pronounced either, but it's a good try.
Harikari!
And...
Hari!
Ben, please say something for the love of God.
Hari!
We call it Billy Kidsy.
The golden Harry award goes to Mr. Irwin's favorite fighter on the card, and that would be Alexander Storm Shlemenko. You're the Bellator middleweight champion. You haven't lost in...
This is the good award, Ben. The harikari.
Oh, sorry. I figured suicide is not exactly the best award.
Okay, Ben, we didn't need to talk either, I guess.
Ben, I wish you had a harikari sword right about now.
Like,
Hari! Hari!
Alright. Anyway, that goes to Will Brooks. Came in on short notice. Gets the Bellator interim title. He's clearly a really high-level fighter. He took it to Michael Chandler, who's considered among the top 10 by many. I would say top 15. But he's definitely arrived as a legitimate fighter. He's young, very young if I'm not mistaken. Clearly has excellent grappling. Was doing just fine on the feet with Michael Chandler. He showed excellent cardio for someone who was going 5 rounds against Chandler on short notice. So he's definitely going to get that Harry Carey Award or whatever the hell it is. Golden Poop's got to go to Storm Shlemenko. You take a fight moving up in weight when you're a natural welterweight against the 39-year-old, hasn't won since beating Bader, and
Who did he beat, Ben?
What?
Who was his last win?
I don't think I have to comment.
Legitimate win or staged win? Because we're going way the hell back.
Are we talking Ken Shamrock?
So I'm gonna talk about Ken Shamrock because that's his last legitimate win. Anyway, this is a bad look for Storm. 13-fight win streak, hasn't been submitted since losing to Jacare. It's really bad. You know, it doesn't do anything for him. And even though people are saying, "Oh, he was so much bigger than him," it's still Tito Ortiz in 2014. Not a good look. That's why he's got to get that golden poopy.
Daniel?
I'll give the golden harikari to Michael Page. This dude fights like a resident from Florida. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he gets with it. You know, he's outclassed everyone. I remember watching him fight in Super Fight League, and that was just that like really bad MMA promotion in India. But he was the one bright spot, and no one looks so captivated. But Michael Page, to me, he's so skilled. He went out there, fought a tough guy in Rick Rainey, and got away with his fight style. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to, when he meets the guy and cause him to change the fight style. Bellator's welterweight division actually looks pretty solid with Douglas Lima, Koreshkov, Adam McDonough, Carl Amasu, and now Michael Page. As far as the Golden Poop, Alexander Shlemenko's a hell of a choice. I gotta say, I don't think that fight was a work because there's so many illogical, like you will have Shlemenko losing for one. And also, if you're gonna throw a fight, I'm tapping out. I'm not gonna get choked out. So there's those two things. But Shlemenko, just looked terrible, especially when the fight got taken down. There was a 4-second period in the fight where both guys were doing nothing, and it looked like Tito Ortiz was talking to Shlemenko. That was weird. And that whole fight was just like a cluster F. And, yeah, Shlemenko definitely deserves golden poop with that performance.
Joshua.
Golden seppuku, since we'll go with the easy pronunciation for Japanese suicide methods.
Hari!
Harikiri is the way you're supposed to say it, kind of. But anyway, that's got to go to... It just has to go to Will Brooks. I mean, there's not anybody else I can give it to. You take a fight with a guy like Michael Chandler on no notice and then just come forward, and it was a very close fight. I had it a draw, but either way, if you take a fight on like 10 days' notice with Michael Chandler and take him to a draw, you are a bad, bad man. And it's really hard to not say Alexander Shlemenko again, but I'll go King Mo and Rampage for making sure that the main event that we all were afraid we would see is exactly how it came to pass. And just not a good fight at all. And if that's your main event on your first pay-per-view, that's a bad, bad look.
My golden Harikari sword. I'm just going to mispronounce everything now. Goes to Fabricio Guerrero. Kid's only 23. He tapped out Shabalat Shamalev, who is a borderline top 25 legitimate guy. Made a nice name for himself on the prelims, which were actually on Spike TV, so they probably had a bigger audience than the pay-per-view. So yeah, a little bit off the board. Obviously, Brooks Brooks was number 2 in our Fighter of the Week, but the best MMA fighter of the week, I think. But a little bit off the board, and good on the kid for making a name and expanding Bellator's already stacked featherweight division. And my golden poop, Adrian Broner. No, I can't even find it again. No, golden poop is probably going to be Mike Alvarado for thinking that he could outbox Juan Manuel Marquez, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Alvarado finally gave it up and started to just go after him in the later rounds. By then, it was too little, too late. Dude, you're Mike Alvarado. You are what you are. Don't try to outbox Juan Manuel Marquez when not even Manny Pacquiao can outbox Juanma. So that is my golden poop on a big strategy dump there. Nolan?
My golden Harikari goes to
Hari.
Alright, was just letting that stew. Michael Page. Michael Page delivers violence. Michael Page is your new striking overlord. Accept it. Learn to love it because it's the best thing going today. Golden poop goes to Bellator for delivering a accidentally entertaining pay-per-view. You give King Mo a live mic after what he said about the president of the organization, and then Jimmy Smith has to pretend like he didn't hear it. I just don't know. It was an experience, but I don't know if I'd want to go through that again. So, yeah.
That was the best line of the year, though, in MMA so far, I think. That was gold. That was the best thing Mo's ever said.
Yeah, and Mo has said a lot of not good things.
Yes, he has. Absolutely.
Credit to him. Bellator 120, it was something.
It happened.
Dude, and the pacing of that show was like a damn telethon. It was just insane. I saw an episode of Game of Thrones between fights on that pay-per-view. I mean, it was moronic.
I literally took 2 dumps between one fight, so...
Why did you need to tell us that?
Just why? You know what, Ben? It's a
highlight of his day, Ben. Give him a break.
It was probably more entertaining than the pay-per-view, too, but,
Again, what are you doing?
Alrighty then.
Taylor, please. Please.
My golden whatever the fuck it's called goes
Hari
to.
Kiri!
Oh, why did you do that?
I was fully expecting at least one of these people to be taken, so I guess I'll have to give you both of them. It's going to be a tie between Mohamed Khalidov and Takayo Hashi. Just two really good under-the-radar performances that not everybody knows about. Takayo Hashi was a huge upset. I only caught the highlights and the finish, but from what I hear, she looked really good in a fight that she probably shouldn't have won. And Mohamed Khalidov beat not a great fighter, but a serviceable UFC vet in Falcao. So two really good under the radar performances, and then my golden poop. I thought really hard about giving it to Ben Cohn for not winning every category he was in, but I think I'm just gonna give it to Alex Flamenco for losing to, as was previously said, 2014 Tito Ortiz.
He
The
was
only
only
thing
doing
could
what
be
he
worse
was.
than that could be like, I don't know, maybe losing to like 2011, 2012 Tito Ortiz when you're maybe bigger than the guy by a submission, but
2014 Mariusz Pudzianowski.
I was
Which-
making a joke
which-
about Bader
I was
losing.
making a Bader joke,
Okay.
Nolan. God damn it.
You
It was a
stupid
good
idiot.
Bader joke,
You
too. It was
stupid
really
idiot.
good.
As an aside, first off, Storm didn't lose. He simply did what he was told to do by Tito in the ring. And secondly, congratulations to our own Ben Cohn, who brought home a pile of medals, which he will, I can only assume, smelt and then sell.
Thank you.
I didn't know that silver was that valuable.
Benny took home a gold in the heavyweight division?
Yeah.
Of what tournament, Ben?
New Jersey Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation.
What? Say that less
Which
slow and
is
less
certainly
Jewish.
not overseen by the mob.
The New Jersey Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and it uses IBJJF. So
The New Jersey Brazilian mob is a
yes,
force to be reckoned with.
You
Luke
deserve
Irwin.
this, so...
Nolan.
Ben won the Super Pastrami division.
I would clap, but that would really hurt.
And he also separated his shoulder.
The clap?
He did. That does hurt too.
That would really
State line, South Haven, Mississippi. Firstly, I have a quibble here. It's South Haven, by God, Mississippi. It's not Memphis. Just like how Hoffman Estates is not Chicago. You know what's in Chicago? The fucking United Center, where Michael Jordan played, and where Brandon Saad currently plays. Don't
Brandon
be coy,
Saad.
Don't be coy, Bellator. You had your first pay-per-view in goddamn Mississippi. Mississippi. Pennsylvania cannot get a bucket to shit in the fight world, but a state where Michael Sam is banned from entering for two reasons gets a major event. Mississippi.
They didn't
Anyway.
even put it in like Tunica or like an active part of Mississippi. They just stuck it wherever they could find an arena.
Gross.
It's phenomenal.
But now the show is over. For the next season and the Bellator Summer Series, we have a decent lineup of what could be title fights if they go through. Again, we don't know necessarily about Rampage and Emmanuel Newton because they train together, and more hilariously, have Antonio McKee as a coach. And we're not sure whether Bjorn will actually go through with Will Brooks fighting Alvarez. But let's just, for the sake of argument, gentlemen, right now they have scheduled Eduardo Dantas and Joe Warren for the bantamweight title, Pat Curran and Patricio Freire in the featherweight division, Brooks and Alvarez if it goes through, Alexander Volkov and Vitaly Minakov, and perhaps Quentin Jackson and Emmanuel Newton as the tournament currently dictates. Which of those fights do you want to see the most, Benjamin?
I'm tempted to say Warren Dantas just because of the absolute destruction that would ensue of Joe Warren. But I actually would really, really love to see Brooks versus Alvarez. I know it's probably the most obvious pick, but it really is a fantastic fight. Brooks showed he has some slick and very, very good grappling against Chandler. And he showed he was really good all around. Actually, there's really not much. It was hard to pinpoint any issues with him. You know, he was able to. He got taken down at first, but Alvarez is not as good a wrestler as Chandler, and I think that's going to make for an interesting fight because it'll make it a clear, in my opinion, it'll make it a much more clear striker versus grappler match. Even though both are very capable in the other realms, it's just that Will Brooks' best chance in that fight would be to get it to the ground. And he's not a boring fighter on the ground. We all saw that. Alvarez also will make it exciting if he gets taken down. I think that would be one hell of a fight. I think it would go to decision. But I think it'd be a fantastic fight, and I would love to see it.
Daniel.
I would have to say, by the way, who knows how many interim title fights we'll see this upcoming season. Given the ones that we have now, Pat Curran and Patricio Pitbull entices me. That entices me because, you know, out of all these fights, I think this one is most likely just to be an all-out stand-up battle. And it'll be an intriguing contrast between Pat Curran's style and Patricio's. I just think that has the best chance to be the most entertaining fight. Not to mention, I mean, these are two of the more skilled fighters that Bellator has. So that's the fight that I'm looking forward to the most.
Josh.
I mean, at this point, Brooks Alvarez is one of the most interesting fights that you can book out of the UFC, period. I mean, that's just... It's that simple. That's the fight to watch, and it's the fight that's not going to happen because Bellator just it makes way too much sense to book the guy that just won the interim title against the champion. But I don't know what kind of a contract you're putting together where you give a guy a clause in his contract to fight one specific person and not the champion. It just. But I would really love to see that fight. I don't think we're going to, though.
It would be funny to see Joe Warren lose what I believe is his 56th title chance in Bellator. My math may be incorrect. Your mileage may vary. Out of those, though, I would like to see Volkov and Minakov a lot. I think that has, kind of a good backstory. Minakov is undefeated. Volkov's coming back for his title that he took from him. And Volkov has looked fantastic ever since he dropped the title fight. But from a pure inside the cage perspective, I think I probably would like Curran and Freire the best. I would like to see Daniel Strauss get back into that mix somehow. But that fight from a pure fight standpoint entices me the most. Brooks Alvarez would be great. I don't think it would be on nearly the level of Chandler Alvarez. And Rampage and Newton really does nothing for me. But yeah, I would say probably between Curran, Freire, and Volkov and Minakov. Nolan?
I would enjoy Warren versus Dantas just for the fact that Joe Warren has the worst case of Napoleonic complex I've ever seen, and this is coming from a 5'4" man here. So I would love to see him get it absolutely tooled by Eduardo Dantas.
Downside is Dantas might legitimately kill him. And he's had way too many concussions already.
Is that really a downside, though?
If Pat Curran couldn't with that barrage, I don't think he's...
No, I mean, but after that barrage, every time he's taking punishment, it's worse and worse because those concussions don't go away. They just kind of pile on. Brain injuries don't heal up like that, so eventually there's going to be a breaking point. And I'm concerned for Warren's safety and future at this point.
How many times has he been knocked out since then, if he has?
Alexis Villa, was that
No,
before?
he got knocked out before that. That was before. That was when he was still a champ.
I'm not sure if he's been knocked out since then or
I
not.
don't think so. I think he's won his fights since then.
He hasn't fought much in the way of competition, though.
No.
Either way, Joe Warren getting the crap beat out of him is pretty entertaining. That said, from a competition standpoint, it's got to be Curran versus Pitbull, too. Their first fight was extremely close, and it was a fun display of MMA boxing from Pat Curran. And very competitive. There's nothing to hate about that fight. Should be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to play contrarian here, obviously, but I just can't really get up for any fight except for Curran and Pitbull again. Pitbull, I thought won the first fight against Curran, and I think in the 4 fights since, I think he has 3 finishes, including an absolute murking of Diego Nunez. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think Nunez can finally get that, or not Nunez. Pitbull can finally get that win under his belt.
Dateline Inglewood, California, from the site of Juan Manuel Marquez's handling of Mike Alvarado. Two-part question. What do you think is next for Juan Manuel Marquez, and what do you want to see? Is it a fifth fight with Manny Pacquiao, which I believe Juan Manuel will be offered it. It's up to him whether or not he wants to take it. Or are you looking for a fight like a Brandon Rios, Ruslan Provodnikov, Jesse Vargas, or maybe maybe Marquez might try for 154? What do you, Ben? What would you like to see? What do you think happens?
Well, I mean, at this point, I really don't know. I don't know what's next for him. Like what the point is, because I mean, I assume that he'll try and beat Pacquiao again because he'll win the title this time. It won't be after Pacquiao lost his title. So, and he won by knockout the last time. There were all the other fights were really ridiculously close. So I think that's what he's going to do because it makes sense for him. But then that just sets him up with another rematch against Timothy Bradley, and we saw how that went. Timothy Bradley completely outboxed him. I don't know what's next. I guess I'd want to see if Pacquiao can I guess regain his former form and not look like he did. Because if I'm not mistaken, he hurt Juanma before the knockout, right? He was hurting him.
Oh, he was tooling him by my estimation.
Yeah. So, and I watched it for before the Bradley fight. So it was. I think that's the fight to make. I think it makes the most sense. I want to see it because their fights are fucking awesome. And I mean, what else does he have to prove in the sport at this point? So.
Well, he's not going to get another crack at Floyd again, so really, you got to take what you can.
Yeah.
Dan?
One note about Marquez. He's a 40-year-old man. I'm an 18-year-old boy. Me and him should not have the same amount of pimples around our nipple area. It is weird to see him having acne on his chest as a 40-year-old. Brings some questions when you look at some of his power. Nevertheless, the next fight for him.
Melvin Minstrel Show, ladies and gentlemen, in black and white.
Next fight for him, probably Pacquiao. Would you include the top-ranked factors? As far as who I'd want to see Marquez fight, obviously we know Ronda Rousey will tool him in a fight. But other than that, I'd like to see him fight maybe just for in my own hypothetical world where I could put two dudes in the ring. Marcos Maidana, just because there's a big gap between Broner and Mayweather, I think Marquez fits right in between that gap, and we can kind of see what Maidana has to offer.
Josh?
I'm good with seeing Marquez Pacquiao again, and then probably again, because, I mean, there's only so much you can do with Marquez at this point. He's 40 years old, and he's still one of the very best fighters in the world, but he's not going to get Floyd again. And so the big money payday with Pacquiao makes sense. It's an easy fight to put together, and they always put on a show, so I'm actually perfectly fine with that. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight somebody like Brandon Rios. I just don't think that's practical.
Maidana would make sense, but, I mean, good luck trying to cross over between the Showtime and the HBO factions there. That would be tough. Listen, 95%, this is probably going to be Marquez Pacquiao 5. I can't see any other way. What I would like to see is Marquez and Ruslan Provodnikov. A Bradley rematch wouldn't be bad. I don't know what Tim has to gain from it. But, no, I like the Provodnikov fight a heck of a lot. Pardon my language. Nolan?
The only way a Bradley rematch happens is if he beats Pacquiao again.
Or if it happens.
I'm going with the Pacquiao fight again. You could have these guys fight for eternity. It'll always be a fun fight. Juanma's not in any position to try to contend for any meaningful title or meaningful place in boxing. He's going to be the top 3, top 5 guy and hang around there, and that's fine. So I don't mind the Pacquiao fight again. Maidana, it would be a fun fight, but again, you have to the factions splitting even further as of late. So Pacquiao just seems to make the most sense.
I've never been a guy to do things that make sense, and I also hate my favorite fighters, so I'm going to throw a Brandon Rios bone out there, just because I feel like it would be entertaining as hell for the 4 rounds it lasted before Rios got just murked.
That's excellent. That's vintage Taylor.
On that note, we will close it out. We'll be back on Thursday to look forward to UFC 173 and the other goings-on in the weekend. Thank you for watching. Big thank you out to Blogwin. And we'll see you back on Thursday.
We're
Fuck Tom